All right, let's jump right into this. Today we're looking at what is essentially an ancient algorithm for stability. And honestly, it is surprisingly relevant for maintaining peace, organizational unity, and even personal focus in our crazy, fast-paced modern world. Throughout this explainer, we're going deep into a historical text to uncover what is basically a masterclass in sociology, leadership, and self-reliance. And get this, it was laid out over 2.5 millennia ago.
We're going to start with a high-stakes political crisis that begs a truly fascinating question about the very nature of power and resilience. So think about this. How exactly do you defeat an enemy that is completely united? I mean, it's a puzzle that military strategists, political leaders, and even modern corporate executives have wrestled with for absolute centuries.
To answer that, we have to travel all the way back to the 6th century BCE. The incredibly ambitious king Ajatasattu of the Magadha kingdom desperately wants to conquer his neighbors, the Vajji Confederacy. But well, there's a huge problem. The Vajjis are incredibly strong, unconquerable even. So before launching this massive, risky invasion, the king sends his chief minister, a guy named Vasakkara, to the Buddha. He's essentially using the Buddha as a high-level strategic consultant, probing for some sort of tactical weakness in the Vajji defenses.
But instead of offering up military tactics or, troop movement advice, the Buddha actually reveals the Vajji's secret weapon. And it all comes down to the number 7. He outlines a very specific set of 7 structural conditions that make literally any society unconquerable from the outside.
The Vajji war crisis and the 7 principles preventing decline.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is how these principles, which are known as the Aparihāniya Dhamma, function as a sociological framework for non-decline. They aren't about weapons or walls at all. They are entirely about the mechanics of human connection and societal structure. We're talking about things like constant communication, deep respect for established frameworks, and protecting the vulnerable. As long as the Vajjis meet frequently, act in totally united unison, respect their elders, and protect their people, they are going to prosper. Hearing this, the king's minister has a massive realization. The Vajjis absolutely cannot be defeated in a head-to-head battle. No way. They can only be defeated from within by breaking this exact unity through espionage or internal division.
Applying to the community. Okay, so let's see how this builds into something even more profound. The Buddha actually takes this brilliant macro-level framework, one designed for an entire kingdom, and scales it all the way down to a micro-level organization, specifically his own monastic community of monks. It's like a perfectly scaling puzzle. It brilliantly illustrates how the rules for a kingdom directly mirror the rules for a community. Where a state needs public political meetings to survive, a community needs frequent gatherings and shared goals. Where a state respects its legal elders, a community respects its experienced mentors. It's the exact same blueprint for resilience, just applied to a totally different scale of human organization.
But the Buddha pushes it even further. He moves from the group directly to the individual. You see, while a nation builds physical walls to keep out invading armies, individuals have to build internal discipline. According to the text, the real internal threats to our own personal kingdom aren't rival soldiers. Actually, it's more like very human tendencies: excessive talking, laziness, a lack of self-control, and craving.
The Dhamma mirror for self-assessment.
So, unity and shared rules protect the group, right? But how does an individual protect their own mind? How do you find certainty in your own progress without constantly needing a leader to pat you on the back and say you're doing a good job? Well, this was a massive problem at the time. Followers were constantly going up to the Buddha, asking him about the afterlife and the spiritual fate of people who had recently died. Where did this person go? What about that person? It was creating a huge bottleneck of external reliance. They were completely and entirely dependent on the teacher for validation. To solve this bottleneck, he introduces something really brilliant called the mirror of Dhamma, the Dhammadasa. It's a gorgeous metaphor for a self-assessment tool. Just as you'd use a physical mirror to check your reflection before you leave the house, you use this conceptual mirror to check your own internal state. And doing this completely eliminates the need for external validation from anyone else. Yes, even the Buddha himself.
The mirror basically works through a mental checklist. First, you reflect on your own unwavering confidence in the core teachings. Second, you observe your own ethical conduct. You ask yourself, are my actions sound, unbroken, and pure? By following these steps to check their own internal clarity, individuals become completely self-reliant. They don't need to ask what their future holds, because their current actions right now are dictating it. It is literally the ultimate form of taking extreme ownership of your own path, building a foundation that is so incredibly strong that outside opinions just do not matter anymore.
Self and Dhamma as refuge. Now, this idea of radical self-reliance leads us to the absolute emotional and philosophical core of this entire explainer, because the ultimate test of this framework is coming, and it's something every single one of us has to face. Let's fast forward to the end of the Buddha's life. He's 80 years old, he falls severely ill and is experiencing intense pain. In a very, very humanizing moment, he actually compares his aging body to a worn-out cart that is barely being held together by straps and bamboo repairs. His attendant, Ananda, is terrified. He's so worried about what the community is going to do without their leader. But the Buddha stops him and reminds him that he hasn't held any teachings back in a closed fist. Meaning, the knowledge isn't hidden away in the leader's head. The framework is already fully in their hands.
And that brings us to this incredible famous directive. He looks at Ananda and says, "Be an island unto yourself, a refuge unto yourself. Have the Dhamma as your island." This profound quote, this is the ultimate takeaway of the text. In the unpredictable, totally chaotic turbulence of life, whether we're talking political instability, massive organizational shifts at your job, or just personal aging and sickness, your own mindful application of the truth is your only true refuge. Ultimately, you have to be your own safe harbor.
The truth of change.
Now, it's one thing to casually talk about being your own island. It's another thing entirely to put it into practice when you are facing the absolute ultimate reality of impermanence. This timeline here maps the incredibly rapid succession of events on that fateful day. In the morning, Mara, who is essentially the personification of death and distraction, requests that the Buddha finally pass away, pointing out that his teachings are now well established in the world. By midday, the Buddha consciously relinquishes his life force, setting a 3-month timeline for his passing. And then boom, a massive, absolutely terrifying earthquake strikes, accompanied by the beating of celestial drums.
Now that earthquake isn't just some dramatic special effect thrown into the story. It serves as nature's ultimate, undeniable physical proof that everything, literally everything, even the life of a fully enlightened teacher, is subject to change and must eventually pass away. The shaking earth forces his followers right out of their complacency. Ready or not, they have to immediately apply what they just learned. They can't rely on the physical presence of the teacher they are about to lose. They have to rely entirely on the enduring framework he left behind.
We've seen how unity protects a nation, how discipline protects a community, and how deep self-reliance protects the mind. So, as we wrap up this explainer today, I really want to leave you with this thought. Whether you are managing an organization through completely chaotic technological shifts, navigating a highly divided society, or honestly just trying to find some peace in your own daily life, the ultimate question remains. In a world of constant earth-shaking change, what is your island? Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive. Take a moment to really reflect on your own foundation today, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.